Okay, thank you everyone for taking the time out of your very busy day and schedule to join us today for our webinar. We're going to be sharing information about the National Quality Mentoring System, or NQMS, which is a self-assessment and quality improvement process for mentoring programs. And as you know, programs that are due for IMP certification in 2018, we've encouraged you to attend today, as you will be using this online system for that purpose. So to start us off, if you would please type into the chat box and let us know, since you chose to be on this call today with us, so what is of particular interest to you about NQMS? What are you hoping to hear today? Do you have any questions that you want to make sure? We only have half an hour, so if there's anything, any burning questions that you want to make sure we address, if people would just type into the chat box what brought you on this call today. Oh, great. Felicia wants to know everything, so we'll try to try to meet that. Okay, any need to know before starting? Great. From Amanda. Okay, hoping it's easy. How to start and stop from Val. Great. Yes, it can seem a little daunting, and that's why we've invited a couple of programs to share out today who have already engaged in the process. So hopefully that will ease some of your, if you have any apprehensions or feeling like it's overwhelming, we think that can be eased a little bit today. And Kim's here, we're just going to share her experience. Great. All right. So our agenda for the call today, an overview of the NQMS process. We'll go over why, so how this process is beneficial for mentoring programs, and then some how questions, or the process, kind of the logistics of engaging in this process. And then we will have some programs share out their experiences, and we'll definitely save time for your questions as well. Please at any time do unmute yourself and jump in with a question or a comment, or let us know in the chat box that you do have a question. As Mary stated, if you have the question, I'm sure other people do as well. So please don't hesitate to interrupt and jump in. So what is the National Quality Mentoring System? It's for mentoring programs to assess themselves using National Quality Mentoring Standards that are based on the 4th edition of the Elements of Effective Practice for Mentoring. So that is reassuring that most of you are familiar with the elements of effective practice. So a lot of the questions that are being asked and the measures that you're looking at in your self-assessment will sound very familiar to you, as they are based on the EEPs. This process assists programs in receiving quality designation, training, and technical assistance to support continuous improvements within a program. So that is the goal of quality improvement, and always looking for how you can move your program forward in these different areas. Our IMP role is definitely not oversight of any sort or assessing you. We want to stress that it is a self-assessment. Our role is more support to help guide you through the program, and to be here with resources and to answer any questions during your own self-assessment. So we can look at what the NQMS is and what it is not. So like I just mentioned, it's targeted at continuous improvement. And what it's not, so it's not a program accreditation process. It is a path. There are many ways to get to the same place. So it is your own path and steps towards improvement, and it's not working toward a final correct answer. So we know that every program and every program model is different and unique, so there's not wrong ways and right ways. It's meant to be applicable for every program, and all of the differences and uniqueness across programs. So it is built around a cycle. So part of the process is identifying goals for yourself that you want to work towards. So it's not a one-time evaluation, something that you just complete and then you're done and you forget about. It is designed to help you really focus in on a couple different areas that you would like to be working on and setting some goals. It is flexible and it accommodates varying program models. It's not designed to be used with programs that are in the startup phase or have just started. That would be, as someone said in the chat box, a little bit overwhelming to be assessing yourself in all of these different areas for your program if you were just getting started. It is guided by quality assurance goals, and it is not a way to rank or to score programs. So there's not a grade or a score that you get. It's reflecting on where you're at, your strengths, and areas that you want to move forward in over the next year or two. It is confidential, so we'll be going over the process and the steps in the mentoring connector to go through the process, and it is visible for you and for us at the IMP, so we can support, but it is in no way a public reporting system, so it is confidential. So the self-assessment questions are really focused on program practices. So what you are doing as a program, what processes you have in place. So it's not linked to youth outcomes yet. That might be something that they're working on in the future. But for now, not focusing on the outcomes that come from your programs, but the internal processes that you have in place. So those are what the questions will focus on. Anything else, Mary or Chad, on that page?
Nor does anyone have questions just about the overview? That's kind of big picture about what this is about.
Okay. Okay, so it is uses the elements of effective practice from the 4th edition. There are 92 self-assessment questions, and those are divided into 3 different areas. There's program design and management, program operations, and then program evaluation. So it's in Mentor Connector, and when you have completed it, as it says on the screen, then you're going to collaborate with IMP to go over your self-assessment in a review meeting that we will schedule with you. And then really based on what comes up as areas that you see that you would like to set some goals in, then we will work with you to develop an improvement plan and set goals. But again, those are not set by us at all. It's all guided on your own assessment and interest of what you want to focus on.
And Nicole talked a little bit about the benefits of the NQMS, and so we talked about program benefits, and there's also benefits nationally for just the mentoring movement and also for the IMP's knowledge. We truly are, the benefit to you is to build on the knowledge of what you're doing well, and then also for us to help to be responsive to your needs. This assessment also, I think programs have found it helpful to help them focus on areas of improvement. You have a lot of demands on your time, and there are a lot of things that you'd like to get to and really probably never do, just kind of taking care of day-to-day needs of the program. So this can help you to focus. It also, as we said, it's confidential, it's your information, but this can help you if you choose to use this information to report out to stakeholders and funders on goals and strategic plans. Nationally, we'll show you later the badging, the designation you'll have, and you'll be noted in Mentoring Connector, but this is going to become a standard nationally. And I think something funders can become familiar with, that you're really engaging this continuous improvement cycle. And I think that can be helpful with funders. We're going to try to make the case for that too across the state with different entities that support youth mentoring. As I said, it will help national data about needs and impact and can inform funding and support at the national level. And the last point, building our knowledge to be responsive to program needs. This does come from Mentor nationally, the National Mentoring Partnership. And as we talked with them about this, we kind of realized that it is truly helping us to work with programs more. And we kind of thought that was a sneaky thing. We thought we were helping programs, but we realized Mentor was helping us to improve our responsiveness and our support of programs as well. And kind of one basic thing we've had to go back to is we've always had the certification process, which is in no way an accreditation, and we are not in the business of telling programs in Iowa they can or cannot operate. That's not our role, but it has brought to our attention the way that we are perceived sometimes from programs, as a state agency, that maybe that is our role. And I just hope that the more you work with us, and if people know us well and programs know us well, they trust that we are here truly just to support programs and to help programs have the highest quality they can to support youth in their local communities. So that is what this is all about, is us being responsive to your needs and helping support programs be the best that they can be in their own communities. So when you're thinking about your readiness for this, I think you'll have to look at your calendar and when you would have time in the next few months to spend at least a couple hours. This self-assessment will take. I know when you see the 92 questions, that's really daunting. It is something that you can leave and come back to. We provide all the questions to you ahead of time, as well as what the uploads are, so you'll really be aware of what you're going to need to have prepared for that. Probably the documents, collecting those might take the most time, but it's really just having time to think through this and give some thoughtful answers to this. So looking at your calendar, when you'd have time for that, thinking about who on your staff would be involved. If it's just you, if it makes sense for other staff, it's a great exercise for more staff. And depending what the situation too is, you might want to involve some board members too. If you're at a point for strategic planning, or perhaps there have been people on the board that need to engage, or you're trying to really get them to understand your work, this might be a way to engage them as well. Or you might share the assessment with them afterwards too. So we have the question at the bottom there, what are you most excited about this process? Maybe that's a very leading question. Maybe you're not excited. Or what worries you about the process? So I'm going to open this up. You can unmute yourself and make comments, or if you'd like to put something in the chat box. When you look at this, what are your thoughts looking forward to participating in this?
This is Kathy. I guess a question I have is, like, are the questions open-ended that we type into a comment box, or are they checkpoints? Can you give us a sense of that?
Sure. They are there. It's open-ended. Then you rate there's a rating from like 1 to 5, and there is the description of what those mean.
Okay.
And then also if there's an NA, so that if it's a question and it's asking if you have something in place that you don't have at all, then it's not like you have to scramble to try to make something up. You can just, say NA, or that you don't have it in place. So.
Yeah, I'm glad you made that point, Nicole. That is as she said before, it's not this ranking either. So no one, it's not expecting like everyone's trying to get a 5. It's 1 to 5 that you get a 5. And if you have a 1 or it's not, you don't even have it. For one example, they do ask for a logic model, which most of our programs don't have. And I know one program is scrambling to do that before the assessment, and it's just not necessary. I mean, I think it's a really important thing for a program to have a logic model, but it's not something we've really worked with programs on. So we can work on that. It doesn't have to be done before you start the self-assessment. We have lots of examples and we can work with you on that. So that's just one example. So I'm sorry, was someone else speaking?
This is Val.
Yes.
Obviously, I can't type well in the chat box, so I'm just going to talk instead. What I was wondering is there anything we can do to show a board member what we'll be doing so they can decide if they want to be part of it or not?
I don't know that we could really show that online system. I mean, you could get on with them and kind of show that, but if you wanted to, we could certainly show, we'll have the link here to all the questions, so that would show you kind of what you would be covering and the documents. So that would probably
that'd be great.
Best.
That'd be very helpful.
Yeah, best thing to share with them.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda says, just making sure that there are issues as our go-to person. I'm glad you brought that up. So we have divided up here on staff, divided up programs. So you have one person to be the go-to person. And so you'll be hearing from either Nicole or Chad or I to know who that person is. Those are for folks that are renewing this year for their certification. But obviously, any of us will be helpful. And we can help with screenshots with the online system and anything with the system, but we'll talk through with the assessment, and then we get back together for the review process and all that. So yes, there will be someone to help you with that. Does that answer your question, Amanda? And Regina has been to the dentist this morning, but she said she's thankful for the outline of things we can do to be better after she's had the assessment. And we have some more comments from Regina. She has gone through the process already, so she'll share her experience some more, or at least on the comments on the screen if she can't talk. So Amanda, the certification is the self-assessment now. So this will be the online assessment, will be the certification process. And actually that kind of takes us to the next slide. And then I'll go back to the chat question. So you register for the NQMS process in the mentoring connector. So if you just Google mentoring connector, we can help you find that. Most of you have your programs already registered. That's the national database through the National Mentoring Partnership. So then once you've registered, we'll talk with you about when you're going to go through the process, because we have to provide access to you to the online system. So once we do that, we'll give you access to the NQMS, and then you'll see a little NQMS button through the mentoring connector. And then you click on that and you start, and the third step is to fill out the NQMS assessment. And then number 4 step is analyzing the program's ratings and arrange a virtual or in-person meeting to discuss results. And that's IMP just looking at your assessment. And then we will schedule, it'll be another 2-hour meeting, and that's a call, and we'll go through your assessment. And then that's the number 5 part, and look at strengths and areas we'd like to improve. And then at that point, the IMP certification will be approved when you've gotten to that step. So it's really 92 questions instead of previously, I think we're up to about 36 questions. This is just a lot more detail. And instead of just saying, yes or no, we do this, it provides more thoughtful reflection on how you're really using these practices, and also providing some evidence with some documents. And truly, some of the documents, mostly what we've seen is really program manuals, and it's just been really helpful for us to better understand your program. So the certification process will now be a 3-year process, because this is more in-depth. Because after we do this, we'd hope that you would have some things you want to work on, and that might be like year-long goals. That's all on your timeline, whatever goals you choose to set. And because there are so many programs, and it takes longer for you to do this and for staff time too. Certification has always been at June, but we're going to extend that in this process as we first go through this to November. But what we're asking for is programs to look at their schedules and commit to the month that they're going to have this self-assessment complete, and so then we can schedule out and have the review. We can't have everybody do this in November, but we're not going to be able to get them all in before June either. But that's the outreach that Chad and Nicole and I will be doing so we can get all of those scheduled. So Karen said, similar to Val's question, we need to ensure we have board involvement with our staff to go through this new process and connect our work plan. Okay, so you're just want to make sure we could talk some more, Karen, about involving your staff. Okay, and Amanda, again, once you're in, if you're a registered mentor connector, your program, you do need to let IMP know that you want to engage in the NQMS, first of all, just for our scheduling, and then also so we can give you access to the NQMS and through the mentoring connector. Any other questions on the process right now? There is some background noise. If you're having another conversation, we can hear that a little bit.
Mary, this isn't a process question, but, and maybe you said this already and I missed it. What is Nicole Quaid's role?
Who is this Nicole?
Hi, so I've been with Volunteer Iowa for about a year and a half, and I work with our AmeriCorps Vista project. And I also have a background in school counseling and a school-based mentoring program. So I've recently started working with Chad and Mary on some IMP stuff, and in particular the NQMS process. So I'm here as an additional team member, but definitely, like Mary mentioned, Chad and Mary are also available for any questions, and we are approaching this as a team. So
yay! So not only do we have IMP team, we have an NQMS team too. It's so exciting. Thanks for that question, Kathy.
Mm-hmm. Good to know.
So continuing steps in the process, after we've gone through the review, the program and IMP staff together, then there's an innovation and improvement plan, and that's where programs can decide on goals and things that they'd like to work on and decide on the timeline and what works for their program. It's Kim and Regina can talk to this going through the process, but I think that's been kind of exciting thing for them, things that they kind of had in the works already. They're like, oh yes, we're some things they're working on already, and some things will be a little bit more involved to work on those goals too. But that's entirely up to the program, how they want to approach that. And number 7, I think, is a really important part too, that we're providing that support. It's not like we just say, oh yeah, go do these things. You guys need to take care of all this. Whatever your goals are, we will provide the resources or find the resources for you. It does say training in there, but most likely it's truly technical assistance because each program will look a little bit different. But if we can provide examples for you, samples, just time to walk through some things with you, or if it's connecting you with other programs that might have resources or support too.
All right, so hi everyone, this is Chad, and I'm gonna go over a few slides here. This is Mary early on mentioned the NQMS badging or designation options. Right now there are 2 badges that will show up and be available in the Mentor Connector system associated with your program as you go through the different steps. So the first badge is the initiated badge, and so that means you've completed the self-assessment, you've participated in the review with us here at IMP, we've uploaded your kind of improvement plan and process, and you've agreed like, yep, we've done the self-assessment, these are our goals for the next year. So that once we've done that, that's step 1, that's initiated. So everyone probably won't be at that step once you've worked with us and have gone through that in that month or couple month time frame that we're working to set everyone up with. The second badge is listed as progressing, and so that's just another element of showing that as a program and as an organization, you are actually starting to work through and completing goals and setting additional improvement goals and are going back to update your plan in the NQMS system with us. So that would be over the course of the next year or two, as you continue to make improvements and then update your improvement plan, then the second badge would appear, or that would be available. So that's how that works. This is a new process for the mentoring, for Mentor and Mentoring Connector system. So we'll see how it kind of appears and goes and looks as we move forward, but that's the badging process and what they look like. So the one on the top right is the initiated or initial badge that you would receive, and then as you get further in the process over the next year or two, that's the second badge that would be available. Now, this is, as we've said, this is all about continuous improvement, continuous quality improvement for your programs. It's not an evaluation tool. Again, this doesn't give you a score in the sense that, it says programs that score in this range are high quality programs. That's not what this is. It's all about a self-assessment tool and basically self-evaluation of where you're at, and then it allows you to see these are areas we want to go and improve in. And this is not something that we use or will use to compare programs against, or National will use to compare programs against each other at all. It's all about the continuous improvement in the work that we do as mentoring programs. So Nicole mentioned there's three main sections to the self-assessment. One is program design and management. And there's the list of questions, and within each of those bullet points, there's 2 to 5 questions in each of those areas. So there'll be questions asked you about your program design, about your leadership structure, staffing, things like that under program design and management. The program operations section is all about basically the mentor and mentee recruitment, onboarding, screening, support of them, the recognition of them, all of those elements of your program. So again, there's 2 to 5 questions in each of those bullet areas. And then the third and final section is around program evaluation, and that talks about, do you look at outcomes, do you have a data collection system, and things like that. So again, answer what you can through our review process. After you do the self-assessment, we have, and you have the ability to update the self-assessment if you answer no, we don't have it, or it's not applicable, and through our discussion, it's like, well, you do have a system, but maybe it's only a 1 or a 2 on the scale of 1 to 5, and so that could be an area of improvement or things like that. So again, we will go through that with you. Within those questions, there are some areas that ask you to upload documents, and these are the list of the documents that will be asked to upload. And some of these may be included in one maybe program manual or process and procedure manual you have for your mentoring program, or they may all be separate pieces of information you have. So again, upload, if it's all in one document, you can just upload the whole document. You don't have to pull out that one page of the 34-page document just for that one. So we want it to be easy for you for that purpose also. This slide deck will be available to you after the webinar today, and that last bullet, the program assessment questions, that's a hyperlink to the list of all the 90 plus questions that would be asked that Mary has referenced. So, and then as it comes up, so we'll go back. So this just shows, again, the steps to get into the online system. Again, we talked about You Notify Us. We'll work, once we set a month, then we'll make sure to get the system linked to you. There's a link you can log in, create your login page, and then you just say get started. And the next slide shows a screenshot of what it looks like in the online mentoring connector system. So there's your dashboard on the far right for your organization. It says go to NQMS. Once you click that, you can say get started and start going through the questions. So it's pretty simple, but again, if there are some technical issues with these steps, your main IMP lead will be available to assist.
And as Chad said, we will send the slides out, and really that last slide would be just, that's the steps. And if you ask us, that's probably the steps we'll refer you to again to, or we can send those out again to about how you log in and get started. But we can send you screenshots at any time to help find where you are and help you navigate the system. And speaking of screenshots, that's what Kim and I were doing this morning. So Kim has shared some comments on the screen here too. She went through the self-assessment process in February, and then we had her her review call together too. So I'm going to let her share a little bit about her experience. Kim?
Well, yeah, I actually learned how to do a screenshot on the computer, so thank you very much, Mary. No, actually, the word daunting is good. As far as some of you thinking about doing this, I know I felt the same way. It seemed overwhelming, but honestly, this was such a good review for our program. And the thing I think the most about it is it gave me the opportunity to really discuss our particular situation in Shenandoah. Programs, while we're all striving for the same goals, can look a lot different. And so I could go through this and kind of explain our situation. And this is not really a critiquing process. This is honestly about trying to improve your program so that you can serve kids the best. And that's really what we all want to do. So I would encourage people to just look at this as ways that they can really help their program. It was just a really good review. And I am not to the point where I have actually set the goals for our program yet, but going through the assessment and then going through kind of that review process, it does make me excited to think about the things that we can do. I just really think it is a good process, and the supportive attitude of the Iowa Mentoring Partnership has made this seem so pleasant and so easy that I want people to understand this is really truly about helping us serve kids.
I love that last summary too, Kim. Just, yeah, that's what the bottom line is. I love your other comments too, of course, and especially about the supportive. There's no money involved with this. Kim was not paid to participate. Thanks, Kim.
Absolutely.
Regina, are you able to chat, or we can leave your comments up? So I know that you can see Regina's comments there too. I know that she found this very beneficial too, and really, I think felt good about your program when you start looking at them, and maybe again thinking about it as daunting, or looking at this review and these standards. And we've always had the elements of effective practice as our standards, but might be concerned or look at how your program's going to look, but really felt good going through the process. So Regina's added some comments here too about the goals to work on, and some they already had in process, and then kind of formalizing. And I think that was something probably both of these programs found too, is that they had a lot of these standards in place, but sometimes it's just the documentation of them or proceduralizing them too. And that kind of is part of what we're talking about in our regional trainings, the innovation exchange with the Volunteer Iowa, looking at succession planning too. It's like you've all built these really great programs, but you want to make sure that you've documented what you've done, so when you're not going to be there forever, that your good work continues too. So that's kind of part of this as well. So any questions for Regina or Kim about the process, since they've actually been through this already?
This is Kathy. I guess I have a question about Regina's third point, where she said the best part was hearing them give me a better rating on some of the things than I gave us. I guess I'm a little bit confused. Who's the they, and
Okay.
who rates That's
The
confusing.
them was the IMP as we went through this review with the program with Regina afterwards. So Nicole kind of referenced this a little bit before, that sometimes programs will say like, no, we don't do this. And as we look through manuals and stuff, we say, you really do have this. So we would say, we talk together. We don't just go change your assessment. What we say, you do have this. And with looking at it this way, would you want to change your would you want to change your assessment, and what would you want to change that to? So I think that was just Regina's reflecting that it's kind of exciting to say, oh, I can even rate some of these higher than I thought I could.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Regina or Kim? I know we have folks leaving because we are over our time, but it will be recorded and we'll send this out. So the last two resources, the readiness toolkit just looks at what your program needs to do to be ready for this. And again, that includes all of the questions and the materials that you need to upload. And then there's also the online user guide, which just shows you, provides support for using the online system. But again, you have real life people here at the IMP, and so we're willing to help you with any of these. So if there are further questions, comments, Regina has some further comments just about that process in the chat box. If you think of something later and have further questions or comments, here's all our contact information, and most of you have that already. You know that we're here. It's a collaborative process. We just want programs to be thinking about the timeline and when this works for them to go through the process, and that's what our next step is going to be, to be scheduling these, and then obviously to help you through the process. So thanks for your time today. Thanks for looking at this process, and I think that you'll be pleasantly surprised when you engage in it, how beneficial it is. So we look forward to working with you in NQMS. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you.